So thank you very much, all of you, for having joined this very special session. We have, as some of you know, we launched this series 3 weeks ago, where the objective is to get a sense of what is good education and what's a good school. And therefore, what we did, we are doing a series of different steps that we are taking to work on this project. This project on finding out what a good school is. So what we are doing is that we have launched a large primary survey. We'll be doing some literature surveys, interviewing people, we are writing some case studies. But one of the most important pillars of this project, of this research work that we are doing, is to learn from those who have been extremely successful in setting up good educational institutions. We are exploring and finding these people out. They are usually hidden behind very large, very successful institutions. So it's often difficult to get through to them. But once you get through to these people, you get an absolute treasure of information, insight, and advice, which is what you will see over the next hour. So we have invited these leaders, these intellectual thought leaders who have also implemented what they believed in, to tell us their views on what good education is, how does one decide what to teach, and how does then one teach that, how does one deliver that. Today we have SALMA with us, and I can't thank her enough for having agreed to take this up. It's a difficult task, though she knows this like nobody else does, but to put it together, to spend her time with us, because as you know, leading a very prominent school in the city, she has her hands full almost all the time. But to take some time out for us and to distribute that knowledge is indeed something that is that we are very humbled with and thankful to her for. SALMA has had an illustrious career across continents. In the West Coast in the US is where she learned and practiced much of what she's going to talk about, and then came back to India and has actually implemented this in a most amazing manner in one of our smartest schools in the city. We are hoping to learn those insights that she has lived and practiced. The structure of this meeting will be that we will all mute ourselves and listen to SALMA for the next 40 minutes or so, where she will take us. Thanks, everybody. Everybody got muted, including me. So, so she's going to take us over the next 40 minutes about what she has learned, about her insights, and what she has to tell us as replicable, scalable instruments. The last 20 minutes is when we will bring in all of you to make your comments or ask your questions. I would also encourage all of you, because we are a large number today, to keep putting down your comments and your questions on the little chat box that we have, so that we can take up those issues as we go along or towards the end. So without any more time, I'm really impressed by your punctuality. You're all here well on time. Thanks for that, and your curiosity in learning from one of the best in this field. So on behalf of the Center for Development Policy and Practice, the MS Academy, the US India Policy Institute, I would like to formally welcome SALMA for this session, and formally welcome all of you to join us in listening to her. May I now turn it over to Ms. Salma. The caveat is that we will all go mute now. We will be recording this session, so those of you who might want to listen to it again, you can. We will be recording it because we want to transcribe it and note it down well for our documentation. So over to you, Ms. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amir Bhai. Thank you so much for your kind words. I think it's my honor to be part of this group. You know, educators are those heroes that work relentlessly to make children's lives better. So every moment that we spend together is valuable. And the thing is, we learn from each other. Whatever I'm going to say today, although I might have said it earlier, truly, every time I present it, I learn more. So, you know, I really hope that the next few moments that we spend together, we will learn something that will benefit you and the children that you interact with, or the children who you work with. And I know as educators, this is not the best time for us to get together. Our day starts at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. So I truly appreciate everybody's presence here. So let me quickly introduce myself. Amir Bhai already did that. My name is Salma. I was born and raised in Hyderabad, India. I moved to California 20 years ago. I did my bachelor's in child psychology, and then I went on to doing my master's in education administration from Santa Clara University. Then I worked in K-12 schools as a teacher and then as a leader. Then I felt the need to learn more about early childhood education, for which I went to Stanford University. That was the time where I spent time at their lab school, which is Bing. Bing is a place where all the big research, studies that we read about child development and brain development have been done there. So it was a great learning experience to be with the educators and researchers there. And mindset, honestly, was one of the things that I discovered there. So it gives me immense pleasure to share it with you. Right now, I'm working as the principal of New York Academy. I also work as adjunct professor at Notre de Namur University, which is in Belmont, California. And we have also started a nonprofit organization in California by the name EdPodium, which works to elevate the status and skill set for educators. So that's about me. So about today, you know, when we talk about education and what makes a good school, there are honestly millions of things that we can be talking about and have huge impact on the quality of schools. But I've chosen mindset mainly for 3 reasons. First of all, I know it works. It worked for me. It worked at the school that I am. It worked for the people who I have recommended this to. And the research shows that it can be a game changer. And the second reason, it not just works, it works for everybody. So by the end of the discussion, hopefully you'll recognize that whether it's a young child to a teenager to an adult or a senior citizen, all of us, no matter where we are, which profession we are in, this is something that we can benefit from. Of course, schools can do a lot more with it. And the best part is it's free. You're not going to spend a penny on it. You know, it's not something that you have to invest monetarily in. You know, God has given us this power to adapt, change, and grow. All we have to do is to recognize that in us and in others and kind of use it to make everything better. So that's what we're going to talk about. And now when we talk about good schools, this is one of those things I'll tell you. Whether you are an educator in Jammu and Kashmir, Kanyakumari, Assam, Hyderabad, anywhere, in a village or in a town, in a budget school, government school, international school, this is one of the universal concepts when adopted by as a culture or by the educators, the leaders, teachers, and students and parents, is going to make a remarkable difference. So I'm hoping for the next few minutes, let's get started and learn more about this. I would like to now share my screen. There you go. Just a minute. Okay. So in the next few minutes, everybody, we are going to learn about what is mindset, what is the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, and how do these mindsets influence our ability to learn? Why should teachers or anybody be educated about mindset? And why is it so critical for young children? Why should we nurture it for them? And how can we do that? I'm going to share some very simple strategies at the end of it. So let's get started. So now give me a thumbs up if you agree with this. The statement says we are all born with an intense drive to learn, to develop our skills, and to have an impact on the world. From the get-go, when we are born. I see that some of you agree with it. For the others who do not or are
you will have to unmute. You can't hear you. Did you unmute?
there you go.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Can you all hear me now? Sorry about that.
Yes, we can. Yeah.
So you must have seen those three pictures, right? They are enough to convince you that yes, we are born with that intense drive to learn. You must have seen the curiosity, the desire to explore, and look at the commitment on this left, the little kid's face, right? So we are all born with that, strong instinct to learn. So let's read this sentence, everybody. It says that infants stretch their skills daily, not just the ordinary skills, but the most difficult tasks of the lifetime, like learning to walk and talk. Imagine yourself in a situation where you didn't know how to talk or walk, how difficult it would be. And those most difficult tasks are accomplished by who? By these little kids who have these wobbly arms and who are just getting into the life, right? And the thing is, they might be able to do this honestly because they never decide that it's too hard, not worth the effort. Babies do not worry about making mistakes or humiliating themselves. They walk, they fall, they get up. They just barge forward. I want you to remember this fact. This is how all our lives have started, no matter where we are, which race we belong to, which country we belong to, doesn't matter, right? All of our lives have started this way, where we were looking to explore the world, where we were looking to learn whatever comes our way. We learned to do the most difficult things. And this is how we began our lives. However, soon we start seeing this: disengagement, depression, anger. Now, the big question is, when we all started that way as learners and wanted to do everything, explore the world, why in the world do kids become non-learners? So this is the big question. Now, when I pose this question to teachers or anybody, the answers that I get are, the kids are not interested in the subject area anymore. They don't focus. They are distracted by everything. They don't find whatever we are teaching interesting. They don't respect me, things like that. Well, all these are just the symptoms, everybody. We have to get to the root cause of it, right? So in order to get to the cause of it, Dr. Carol Dweck, who is the professor of psychology at Stanford University, she was also somebody who was pondering over that question as to why is it that, the motivation that we start our life with starts to diminish with time. So after a lot of study, she found out that for decades I've been studying why some people succeed while others don't. And over the years, I've discovered that people's mindsets play a crucial role in this process. So by the way, her research was not just with schools. She has done research in many different industries with many different groups, pharmaceuticals to IT, to talk about anything, and many different schools from preschool to elementary to middle. So this is what she said. It's the mindset of the people that makes them non-learners. And of course, when you become a non-learner, then life pretty much stops there, right? Okay, so let's talk about what mindset is. Mindset is your belief about one's intelligence, abilities, skills, and talent. The key word there is belief. How do you see these things? What do you think about intelligence, abilities, skills, and talents? And depending on what you think about it, you're either in a fixed mindset or in a growth mindset. And now we're going to compare and contrast to see how they're different, right? So as the visual says, when somebody is in a fixed mindset, they think that this is something very concrete that they have, and they have to work with it. On the other hand, if you have a growth mindset, you believe that your intelligence, abilities, and skills are things that you can grow and develop. So because of this belief, what happens is the people who are in the fixed mindset think that everything, all these abilities are set. So they either have them or not. Basically, they believe that, you're born with it and you're born with certain amount. So either you are born very intelligent or low in intelligence, or you don't have it. Because of that belief, they think that they have no control over their abilities and that they cannot learn and grow. Okay, so that's your fixed mindset. You believe that something is very concrete. Why work on it? Because it's not going to give me anything. When it's not going to give me anything, why work hard or learn and grow? On the other hand, when we have people with growth mindset, they believe that skills and intelligence are grown and developed. Okay, they're not gifts. You need to work for them. Because they know that that is something that they have to work on, they believe that, yes, I have control on these abilities and that I have to continue to learn and grow. Okay, so this is the difference between the beliefs of a person with a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Now, let's get a little deeper into it and find out how these mindsets influence our ability to learn. Okay, now think about it. If I am in my fixed mindset and I believe that I have just set amount of intelligence, then I'm always insecure to show people that I have a lot of intelligence from birth and I'm a smart person. Okay, and because of that, I avoid challenges, because the moment I struggle, people will think that I am stupid. Now, let me give you a quick example for you to understand. And this may have happened with us, our friends, our peers, or somebody, where we might be listening to a lecture and we don't get something that the speaker is saying. But we are afraid to ask a question because we feel that if I ask this question, people around me might think that I am a dumb person. I'm not that intelligent. And it's the irony of the situation that you might have 90% of the people in the room feeling the same. And the sad part is, because of you not asking that one question, everything else that follows kind of becomes meaningless, because now you have a gap there, right? So that's how we avoid challenges. And whenever the obstacles come, for example, I'm trying something, I'm in my fixed mindset, I try it once, I didn't succeed, then I'm going to think that the intelligence that I have, the ability that I have is not enough for me to succeed here. So that's it. There's no point trying it, and I give up. Because of this mentality, then I don't believe in effort. I don't put hard work anywhere. I just try it once. Well, my intelligence is not supporting me. That's it. And because I'm so conscious about everybody thinking about me, whether I'm intelligent or not, I do not like people criticizing me. Because whenever people come up to me, I kind of see them as if they are measuring my intelligence. They want to gauge if I'm intelligent or not. So I ignore their feedback. Sometimes I can get defensive too if I'm in my fixed mindset. Then what happens is, when I look at people who are successful, I have grievance in me. I feel threatened, because I feel that, you know what, I have very little intelligence and abilities. Look at that person. He has so much intelligence and abilities, and therefore he or she got to that point. So there is, you don't want to have any positive relationship there. Because of all these factors, what happens eventually is I am going to start going down the slope. I'm going to stop growing. I'm going to stop learning. I'm not taking any criticism, not working hard for myself. So eventually I become a non-learner. And when you become a non-learner, basically your process to evolve stops there. Now let's look at what happens when you are in your growth mindset. Okay, now you're thinking that I have what I have, but I know it can be developed. So I have this desire to learn more and more. So if I were that person in the room where I didn't understand something, I would not just ask one question. I will ask a chain of questions till I understand, because I know that that is a challenge for me. And unless I embrace it and I get over that obstacle, I'm not going to go to the next level. I'm focused on my goal and I want to be more intelligent. So I'm putting a lot more effort into it. And then I seek out people. I look for good mentors. I look for people who can guide me, because I know, why reinvent the wheel? They know what they know. So how about I learn from them? So they are looking forward to this constructive criticism and they make use of it. And then what I also do, because of the attitude, positive attitude that I have to learn and grow, I look at people who have succeeded. I get inspired by them. I want to learn more from them. I get inspired by them. Because of this positive attitude and my positive belief in my intelligence and abilities, what is going to happen? Of course, I'm going to just keep moving endlessly, unstoppable to reach my goal, to the point where I feel that, yes, I'm reaching my full potential. So that's how learning is impacted when you are in your fixed mindset versus your growth mindset. Nobody is responding, but I hope that things are going well. So let's look at these three examples, everybody, and let's think about it. Einstein's teacher said he was academically subnormal. We all know Einstein. Michael Jordan, one of the best basketball players in the US, his coach had said that he wasn't more talented than other people. And Walt Disney, by the way, was told that he lacked creative imagination. By the way, coming to one of the Indian examples, let's talk about Dhoni, because we all know him, right? He was rejected in 2002 by the railway department to play for Ranji Trophy because they felt that he did not have the technical background for it. Well, when these people were given these comments, and if they had accepted that and stopped at that point, would they have reached their full potential? Of course not. And the other thing that's clear about it is maybe they didn't have it at the point when they were being assessed for it, but that was not the end of it for them. They definitely had a growth mindset. They knew their goals, they kept working on it, they never gave up, they asked for help whenever they needed and just kept working on it, and they reached where they wanted to reach. So that's what happens when you have the growth mindset. So, the idea of growth mindset inspires everybody, right? When you listen to it, yeah, you're like, man, if I can just change my mindset from fixed to grow, that would be great. It's a cool idea, but does that really happen? Is the question, right? So the truth is that it is possible. If this question of can your brain grow, can your intelligence be grown, if this question was asked 40 years back, the question may have been, yeah, you can, but very little, because at that point, the brain research had shown that your brain was largely constrained by the hard wiring inside. So, you couldn't change it much. But thanks to the brain research in the past few decades, they have come up with this concept of neuroplasticity that shows that your brain can definitely grow no matter at which stage of life you are. So let's watch this quick video.
Smartness is not fixed, is not stuck in one place, is not permanent. Your brain can improve. Your brain can grow. Brain behaves like a muscle. If you're serious about lifting weights, right, and you keep it up on a regular basis for a long period of time, weeks, months, years, you're going to develop muscles. But you don't grow muscles by doing nothing. It takes effort. It takes struggle, repeated failures, in fact. You mess up, and then you learn, and then eventually you manage to jump the log or whatever problem you're trying to solve. Wait, we've lost focus here, back to neurons. When you struggle, your neurons are struggling too, and that's important because when neurons struggle, they lean on each other. They make connections. They start to form this densely connected network inside your brain, allowing little jolts of electricity to pass down them more and more efficiently. That's thinking faster. That's your brain getting smarter. The more you work through your frustrations with the right learning strategies, the more your neurons get more used to working together, the closer you are to being that much smarter.
Okay, so this talks about the brain, right? So it's not just a philosophy. It has been proven by science that you can actually grow your ability to learn by working on your brain. So the research has now shown that you can grow the ability of your brain in 3 different ways. You can actually physically grow it. The other thing is, through the process of myelination. Then the third one is by rewiring. So let me quickly give you an example of how you can physically grow it. There was a research study done in London on the cab drivers. There were many, many brain scans taken. And what was interestingly found is a part in their brain, which is hippocampus. That part of the brain is responsible for spatial and navigational ability. So what they found is all these drivers had bigger hippocampus than in an ordinary person. And what they realized is because we didn't have GPS then, the load that they had to remember the addresses and the routes and everything, as it increased, the brain adapted to it, to the point that more neurons were made and then more connections were made. So, and this happened only because they kept exercising, they kept working on memorizing the routes and making it more effective. That's what led to it. So it's unfortunate that hippocampus these days is kind of shrinking because of the GPS that we have, but that is one clear study that shows that brain can be grown at any stage in life. Okay. So if you remember, I said at the beginning, why should teachers be educated about mindset? Which I think that this is the most important training that we need to have as educators. And I'll tell you why, because a teacher's mindset plays a crucial role in shaping a child's mindset. So if you go back to the definition, we said that mindset is your belief about one's abilities, right? So it's about what you think about your intelligence and what you think about other people's intelligence too. So what we have seen is research has shown that educators who had fixed mindset, who thought that, that you cannot grow intelligent, you are who you are, started supporting students' perception of low abilities. They started giving them comfort feedback and started to make things easy for them. So let me give you an example. If a student comes to me and says, Ms. Ume, I'm starting to do algebra. You know what? This is not for me. It's not working out for me. And if I'm in my fixed mindset, I'm going to say, yeah, maybe it's not working for you. Not everything works for everybody. So don't feel bad about it. So let me give you, simple problems and, we can manage with it. If I do something like this, then will the student ever reach their full potential? They will not. Instead, if the teacher has a growth mindset and the same child comes to you and says, I'm not getting this problem in algebra, I would say, let's see what challenge you're having and let's work through it. You know what? Pre-algebra was once my challenge too, but I kept working on it and then I went on to taking calculus too. So you might be taking calculus in the future, but let's work on it. And then you help the child go through it. You facilitate learning for it. You give them higher expectations, saying that your goal could be this. Only when you do something like that, the children will come out of their fixed mindset and will believe in their ability to learn and grow. So that is one of the reasons it's important that teachers keep thinking about which mindset they are in. What do they think about it? It's a conscious thing everybody has to do. And when you do that, that is the first thing of acknowledging which mindset you have. And the second thing, we're working on moving from the fixed mindset to the growth mindset. And as I said, it's free. It's all about you changing your attitude and your thinking. So I know the growth mindset is helpful for everybody, but it is so important in very young children who are generally ignored. And the reason why I went back to Stanford University to learn about early childhood education is this. Because that period of life from 1 to 6 or 0 to 5, it's extremely important. Those formative years have to be utilized well. Now, brain grows and develops at the fastest pace in those 5 years, right? And the babies are born with 25% of the adult's brain size, and it goes up to 90% within the next 5 to 6 years. And imagine, like we saw in the video, right? There are about 700 neural connections happening every second. So let's look at this picture, everybody. When a child is born, you do have your neurons, which are the cells in the brain, right? But they're all isolated. Now, 1 month, they look at the environment, they start interacting, they start exploring, they start looking, and now those connections are being made. And at 9 months, when they start sitting up and interacting more, smiling and doing other things, the connections are getting stronger and more at 2 years and then in adult life. It's important that we, they say neurons that fire, that the ones that work are the ones that fire. That means they are connecting to make it stronger. So let me give you an example. If you're stitching a button, if men haven't done that, I think tonight you should do it. I'm going to take a button and try to stitch it with one thread and stop it, the strength is not going to be there. You have to repeatedly do it about 8 to 10 times to make sure that that button stays on the cloth, right? So that's what happens between the connections between the brain cells. You have to keep working on it. As we have seen in the video, you have to stay with that task. You have to struggle. All these things are the ones that make that connection strong. And these connections are the connections that build the brain architecture. So once you have that strong foundation, everything else, whether it's related to your learning, behavior, and health, kind of starts building on it. Okay, now I'm going to share with you very simple strategies, everybody, that anybody can do in any classroom. It might take some practice, but they're not impossible to do. So let's get on with it. Now, the first thing, no matter what you start with, you have to build a foundation. And the foundation that you build for mindset is to discuss about the power of brain and the two mindsets. It's important for our teachers, for our students, for our parents to know that the capacity of the brain to change, to adapt, and to grow. And they have to be really educated about the two mindsets, because unless you acknowledge it, unless you assess yourself, there is no way for you to make that switch if you are in the fixed mindset, right? Look at this. Kids start to develop a growth mindset just by learning about how their brain works and grows. This was Dr. Dan Siegel. This is, again, based on research. So the other things that we could do for the little children, even for the older ones, bring in books in your library that help them learn about the power of the brain and the mindset. Your Fantastic Elastic Brain by John Dec is an excellent book, fun book to kind of introduce this concept to the kids. Making a Splash, another very nice book, a story of a brother and a sister who are trying to learn to swim. One has a fixed mindset and other has a growth mindset. So it's a great way of comparing and contrasting. And I think the most effective one would be your personal stories. Often we make this mistake of showing our own kids or the students that we are perfect, and this gives them this misconception that things are supposed to come easy. I would rather encourage you to talk about your struggles, your failures, times where you have overcome those obstacles, because that's what they're going to embrace from you. So I think personal stories are incredibly impactful. The next thing would be help children set goals. Setting goals helps boost children's confidence in learning and improving. And when you are setting goals with kids, you have to also make sure that you help them with a specific plan. Don't shoot in the dark. You need to know where your child is. That's where the zone of proximal development comes in. For those of you who don't know, it's a very important concept in the field of education. Zone of proximal development is the area or the concepts that the child cannot do independently, but can achieve with facilitation. Okay, so with the support of the teacher or the adult or whoever, they can do it independently. What happens is if you give things that are too easy for kids, of course, they're going to be bored and going to start acting up. If you're going to make it too difficult for the child, then they're going to get frustrated. So as a facilitator, as a teacher, it's your responsibility to know your children so well that you need to know the zone of proximal development for each child to help you now set the goals with them. I'm not saying for them. You have to involve them in that process and then have a specific plan to do it. Now that's not done, right? Now when the child starts learning, of course, they're going to fumble, they're going to struggle. You need to be there to motivate them. You need to be there to give them the right strategies. A combination of all these things will be the one that will help them going and building that strong growth mindset and getting the confidence. The other thing is avoid using labels, everybody. This is something that educators do unknowingly. And I now have a rule at school where we are not allowed to use words like you're talented, you're skilled, you're intelligent. We talk about only the effort. So what we realize is many people think that, oh, if I say you're so intelligent, the child will be motivated. That is not true. Over the time, we have seen that these labels will do more damage than good, whether they're negative or positive. Whether you're calling somebody stupid or calling the other intelligent, by the way, both kind of labels eventually are not going to prove to be good for kids. Now, what happens with the negative labels, we know. It's going to just crush children's self-concept, right? That is the worst thing that one can do. If you're unable to work with the child, leave the child alone rather than getting frustrated and using those labels that are going to have a lasting impact on them, right? But even when it comes to the positive label, there has been a lot of research done on that too, guys. And I'm not going to get into the negative labels because no is a no there, but when it comes to the positive labeling, which we think is the best thing that we are doing to motivate kids, the research has shown that students who are praised for intelligence choose easier tasks when given a choice. There was a whole experiment done with fifth graders. Two groups were there. One were given appreciation for their intelligence. The other one was effort. The ones who were appreciated for their intelligence, when they were given a choice to choose the next level, they were told you can either go with easy ones or hard ones. Whether you believe it or not, they chose to do the easy ones. Because again, it's the fixed mindset that kicks in that tells you, oh my God, if I'm going to struggle, she's not going to think that I'm intelligent. So they went on to choosing the easier task. And a lot of research in high school shows that children who have been known for their intelligence or appreciated for their intelligence end up lying about their scores because they do not want their image to be tainted. Sorry. Okay, so you're gonna say, if I am not praising them by saying that they're intelligent, smart, and then what do I do? Well, there is a solution for it. You praise effort. Okay, as teachers of young children, we use words as powerful tools for developing the desired skills. And I cannot insist enough, everybody. Your body language, what you say, has such a huge impact. You can go back and look, remember those teachers. I can bet you will find one teacher whose body language or the words that they use have hurt you. And you might also have examples of those teachers who were very positive with you and how they changed your perspective towards the subject that they were teaching. Sorry. Okay, so in the same, so when we are praising children for their effort, they start believing, of course, in the power of effort, right? And they become better at overcoming the obstacles that they have. Now, when you are giving this feedback, everybody, it has to be very, very specific. I have gotten into so many classrooms. It's something that I have done too, and I have gotten over it. The number of times people say, good job. You know, good job, good job, good job, good job. After a certain point, the child doesn't know why you're saying good job. The teacher sometimes doesn't know why she's saying a good job. So it becomes monotonous and it has no benefit at all. It just becomes an extra chant in the classroom. So your time in your classroom is the most precious time, and you can use your words and body language, as I said, as powerful tools. So you have to be very specific about it. For example, this is an example that I've written here. For a child who's playing with the blocks, right? You could say that it is great that you're trying so hard to put these blocks together to make this tower. Now, because I'm being very specific, this child knows now that I have observed that he was working really hard. He knows that I watched him putting the blocks together and that he was making a tower. Remember how many times our children say, can you look at what I'm doing? Can you look at what I'm doing? They want to be noticed. So if you notice them when they're working hard and give them that specific feedback, it's going to go a long way for them. And it will benefit all students. Whether you have struggling students or good students, we want each one of them to be putting that effort in getting to their best self, right? So that's something that is going to benefit everybody. Now, the second group, if you remember from the last time that I said, the fifth graders who were given blocks, to work with the puzzles, the group that received praise for their efforts, 90% of those kids chose more challenging tasks. They showed higher levels of engagement. So when the observer was watching them, they said, oh, no, I want a difficult puzzle. I want to work harder. Oh my, did you get it? So the whole, perception towards how to do it changed. So these kids knew that their effort was the one that is being watched and praised for. So that became their focus. Okay, this is another big thing, but very, very simple, everybody. To celebrate your mistakes and struggles. I have seen so many kids, and we have gone through it too. We are just so afraid of making mistakes because, again, because of being judged or ridiculed by others, we don't want to show our struggles. But it is our biggest responsibility, educators, to help children celebrate their mistakes and not fear them. We are the ones who have to show the kids that these mistakes and struggles are learning opportunities. You don't get anything without making mistakes and without struggling. And I love this example. Thomas Alva Edison, at a press conference when the light bulb finally worked, one of the reporters came up to him and asked him, how did you feel to fail 1,000 times? Believe it or not, he had to try close to 1,000 times before he succeeded. So Thomas Alva Edison turned and he said, I didn't fail 1,000 times. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. Imagine how powerful it is. All your mistakes, all your struggles are just steps towards success. Nothing comes easy. Go back and talk to anybody who has succeeded or made a mark. They're going to talk about the huge struggles and failures and mistakes that they have made. But in regular life, for majority of the people, we kind of make it a taboo that, if you do this, this is going to happen. We discourage children from taking risks because of the mistakes. But we need to make sure that that becomes a culture in your classroom where you're appreciating, you're talking about mistakes and struggles, right? So these are some of the questions that you can ask. You could ask, what was the challenge that you took on today? What is the mistake that you made and what did you learn from it? Again, you are rewiring them, right? The way they look at the mistakes and other things. And the next thing would be, how would you do this differently next time? And, this is a book that all of you should grab, and, there might be many more mistakes that worked. This is something that we need to share with our students too, for them to gain that confidence. Whether it's your microwave or vulcanized rubber that is used for balls or tires, whether it is implantable pacemakers, your potato chips, and antibiotics, talk about all these things. Everything was a result of mistake. The person who invented those was trying to do something, some mistake happened, and then it led to all these inventions. So mistakes are the ones that lead to inventions that make life better. So, that's something that we have to keep bringing up with our kids. Now, one of the biggest challenges that we have these days is we don't talk about our feelings, and we need to come out of it because people are, again, afraid to be judged. So as an educator, as a facilitator, you should be the person who provides that safe environment, a place where any and every child can come and talk to you. And you have to be that compassionate individual, by the way, and a great listener. Allow them to speak, please listen and respond to them in a very compassionate way, show some empathy, because that's going to go a long way. And then when you build that relationship, then you can support children from moving from the negative to the positive self-talk. Okay, and this is a chart that basically you can have in the class with some examples, right? For example, if you hear a child saying, I'm not good at this, try to talk to them, say, how about we think, what am I missing? And even for the kids who are overconfident, by the way, right? So if they say, I'm awesome at this, no, that is not the end of it. I am on the right track. There are many other things that I have to accomplish. I'm afraid I'll make a mistake, versus when I make a mistake, I learn from it and get better. I give up versus I use some more strategies that we have learned. And all the ones, I can make this better. I can't make this any better, versus I can always improve. So I need to keep trying. I just can't do it, versus I need some feedback, some help from others. She's so smart, I'll never be that smart, right? So versus I'm going to figure out how she does that. It's good enough, versus is it really my best work? And then this is one of the favorite ones, right? Plan A didn't work. Good thing the alphabet has 25 more letters. If we start thinking about the negative things that are stopping us, there might be a million things. But if we have the will to make it happen, there will be a billion other reasons for you to be motivated and to keep moving. And this is something that we need to keep talking to them about. Now, this is the simplest, but my most favorite one. I'm almost coming to the end of it. So teach your children and yourself the power of yet. Okay, so when you have children coming to you, whether they say, I can't tie my shoelace, I can't ride bike, I can't do algebra, I can't read, encourage them to add the word yet at the end. So it sounds like I can't tie my shoelaces yet, I can't ride my bike yet, or I can't read yet, or I can't do algebra yet. Just imagine when you use that word yet at the end, it is so hopeful. It tells you that this is not the end of it. If there is something that I cannot do today, I'm just not able to do it yet. When I work hard, I'm going to be able to do it tomorrow. So these smaller words send signals to your brain that, make it sharper, everybody. When the growth mindset kicks in, the motivation and everything else is going to be stronger. And of course, model and coach growth mindset. As I said, your language, your body language, everything counts. They are watching you and they're going to learn more from your actions than your words. So in your class, intentionally frame some challenges, mistakes, and problems. Do something wrong on the board and say, oops, I made a mistake, let me fix it. Okay, sometimes arrive at a wrong answer, say, oh, I did a mistake, what do I do about it? Maybe I should try it this way. You need to model it for your kids. And then, let your kids see you making mistake, and then going through those challenges with enthusiasm. Don't give up. It could be a sport that you're playing, get involved in it. Show them how you come up with a new plan every time you fail, and just show them how you are fond of that learning process. Okay, I want to end with Thomas Alva Edison's story. We all know him. He's the biggest inventor. So one day he went to the school and his teacher gave him a small piece of paper and said that, take this letter to your mother, don't read it, let her read it. And the mother he gave it to the mom opened the letter and tears started rolling down her eyes. And he asked very innocently, Mom, what's written in the letter? Then she started reading it out loud and she said that the letter says, your son is a genius. The school is not up to his caliber, and we don't have resources to hire teachers that can teach your son. Please teach him yourself. And after that, she did that. Alva Edison's mom was the one who taught him throughout, gave him the resources, gave him the guidance and everything. And many years later, after she died, he was going through her stuff and he saw the same piece of paper lying in the corner of the desk. When he opened and started reading it, the letter actually said, "Your son is adult. We won't let him come to the school anymore. Teach him yourself." So this was the actual content of the letter. And when Thomas Alva Edison read this, he started crying like a baby. And he wrote in his autobiography that Thomas Alva Edison was an adult child that by a hero mother became the genius of the century. Now, I will leave you all with this thought. As an educator, you need to ask yourself, do you want to be that educator with a fixed mindset who might unintentionally harm the well-being of the children that you are working with? Because an educator in a career might teach close to 3,000 to 5,000 students. So those are the number of students who are being impacted by you. Or do you want to be a hero like Thomas Alva Edison's mother, who has a growth mindset, who wants to look at everybody capable of learning, capable of growing their intelligence, and are there to support them? Thank you, everyone. I'm done. I'm going to stop sharing. Now here, for some reason, my cursor is not working. Can you stop sharing, please? Is that possible for you as a host? Yes. Thank you, everybody, for bearing with me for that long. I usually prefer interactive session. This was a one-way thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You know, there was, as you can see, it's been a deluge of comments on the chat room, but the questions are, you know, a couple of broad questions were working with adolescents.
Yeah.
You know, that's a tough age group, and how do you establish a connection with them? How do you get them to respond? I think that's the big question that everybody is asking.
Right.
You know, it'll be great if you can shed some light on that.
It is a very detailed topic, by the way, Amir. One of the things is, and it's a very genuine question everybody struggles with. We need to understand what happens during the teenage years. So there is so much going on in their brains that, remember when we saw the video, we spoke about the neurons and then the connections that they make with dendrites and axons. Naturally, during the teenage years, by the way, they start shedding it. It's like the spring season. That is one of the reasons when, you know, when you see your teenage child or a student, one minute they act like a small kid, the other minute they are like adults questioning you. This is not because they're deliberately doing anything. It's about the mess up that's happening in their brain, where they lose a lot of those connections and retain only the ones that are lesser in number, but are very focused. But that is the time where those are the most confusing years. But you know what, Amir Bhai, this is a topic in itself, and I would love to address it. So in the future, if you want to have a session there, we can talk about, because I want to start with the cause, you know, why they are doing what they are doing, and then talk about the solutions for it, because that is going to make more sense. But I think it's the patience that you would need with the teenagers, and you will get the patients only when you know what they are going through. So, and hopefully, inshallah, if time allows, I would love to have a whole session. It will be almost, 45 minutes again to talk about the adolescent brain and how it impacts their thinking, learning. And by the way, the brain is not developed until you're in 30s. So the frontal lobe of your brain that is, responsible for rational thinking, making decisions and everything is not yet made. The whole brain is almost ready, except for that part in teenagers. And that is one of the reasons that they do it too. So again, the things that we have spoken about in the growth mindset, be that listener to them. Don't always try to, be the sage on the stage, trying to tell them about how well you were and how did you make this happen. Be relatable. Talk to them about your struggles, the mistakes that you have made, because once you have the strong connection with them, they will be open to communicating with you. And teenagers are much better when they have the constant communication. Things go wrong, everyone, when we lose that connection with our child. And we are to be blamed too. They have something going on, but we as adults have gone through the life, right? So we need to be there to listen to them, to be able to understand what they're doing, talk to them about the brain. And that is something that I've done with my child too. We have watched a video on adolescent brain and what goes through, because he acknowledges that there are things where you don't have control over things because things are happening. And that is when Mama and Abuji will intervene to make sure that, you're not going wrong. We also talk a lot about risk. Don't stop them from taking risks, but you also have to tell them about calculated risk, right? If he's going to wake up one morning, say, I'm going to just take the bike on my own, no, you cannot. But okay, you want to take the bike, maybe one of us could be there. So it's all about having that understanding of what they're going through and then having that connection with them and then having continuous communication. So they don't feel left out, because that's not the time where you want them to be by themselves feeling left, neglected. But it's a whole topic in itself, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, as part of this exercise, we are trying to figure out what do schools do. So, from what you have said, we've all gathered what individuals, what teachers, what parents should. But how do you get a school to inculcate? What should schools do institutionally to be able to establish these practices?
Amir bhai, it all starts with changing the culture, and that has to start from the leader. And that's what I did at my school. I said that growth mindset is going to be the culture of our organization. So when I interact with my teacher, I firmly believe in their ability to grow. And I whatever I have spoken about, educators doing with the children, that's the same thing that I do with my teachers too. When you do it as a leader, you believe in it, then you talk to, I have orientation at the beginning of the year with parents. We have this shared understanding and common language about growth mindset. So we talk about it. If the child is doing this, how about we try this? We use the word yet so many times. The knowledge about brain and the classes on brain development are common. So when you have the leader who believes in it and the teachers who are implementing in it and the parents who are educated about it, of course, the students are going to imbibe that too. And it becomes part of your culture. And then, as I said, you have to change the language of your school. You have to change, how you see things, what you're appreciating the kids for, everything, the strategies that we have mentioned at the end. If we start implementing that, it is going to become the culture of the school.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much. We started on time, so we will end on time too. I guess that's one of the learnings of a good teacher. But thanks to all of you.